They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're ignorant.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
Hello and welcome to Ycft. This is Hosting Horror, and tonight we are watching George A. Romero's 1968 classic Night of the Living Dead. You might want to ask, how can we talk about such a film? How is this film in the public domain? That is a tale in itself that I want to get out of the way quickly. So it's all to do with the copyright. The working title for this film was Night of Anubis, who's the Egyptian god of death, I believe.
The dog.
But it was often believed that the general public would know who Anubis is.
That's a fair point.
I think that's fair, but I didn't know who Anubis was until The Mummy came out.
Yeah.
So the name was changed to Night of the Flesh Eaters.
Yes.
And that's what the copyright was under. Like, the film used to have to go out with a copyright notice and you'd have the copyright up on the film itself as well. But the distributors were worried about a film that came out a few years ago, which also had a similar name, which had flesh eaters in it. I don't know, it's called like The Flesh Eaters or something along those lines. So they, at the last minute, changed it to Night of the Living Dead, which is a much better name. Let's be real. It sounds less like a B monster movie.
Yeah, totally.
But they didn't put the copyright notice in, and there's no copyright notice on the film. So this film instantly entered the public domain.
Like, instantly.
George A. Romero, he spoke a lot about this, about how the unsung amount of money that he's lost, both in the short term and long term. It's why it's on YouTube 1,000 times. There have been so many remakes of it, like redubs of it, colorizations of it.
Absolutely.
Probably one of the dumbest moves.
It would be devastating. Can you even imagine the amount of money that man has been diddled out of because of that one mistake?
But also, again, because of it was his first film, him and his
friends.
team, his friends, basically, they'd only made like adverts before. It's like television adverts. Again, not really knowing distribution deals. They didn't make a very good deal. Like, they basically made no money off this movie.
Yeah.
And the distributors got all of like the proceeds from theaters.
Mm.
So yeah, probably not the best experience from him, and he didn't probably start seeing money from this new genre he created until Dawn of the Dead, like a decade later.
Good for us.
He even wrote a remake. It came out in 1990, which that's a subject for another time, but that was directed by Tom Savini, famous makeup artist that did a lot with the story that they were going to do in this one, but ended up like changing for various reasons and got to make it a little bit more violent, but also meant that they could capitalize on the fact and try and make some money off that story. Interestingly, Tom Savini was supposed to do the makeup for this film, but he got drafted. He had to go to Vietnam.
Oh, he did.
He was a war photographer.
He did, yeah.
So yeah, he didn't end up working in the Dead series until Dawn of the Dead.
Until Dawn, yeah. But he was destined to work in it somehow, some way.
So I had a budget of about 100,000, maybe like 120. So like, this is a tiny budget film. It's probably one of the most successful independent films ever made. And it was co-written by a guy called John Russo.
Yes.
Now, interestingly, after this film came out, the two, George A. Romero and John Russo, couldn't agree in what direction to take the franchise, or to make it a franchise. Probably part of the reason why it took so long to get a sequel out.
To get a sequel, yeah, sure.
So they split it. Romero got to make his Dead franchise. So he got Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, Survival of the Dead. I think I've got all of them.
Okay.
I think that's all of them. And John Russo went on to write Return of the Living Dead, which then became a franchise of its own.
My
Which
favourite.
we've recently recorded a video on that one that'll be out in a couple of weeks.
It was an amicable split, right, between them?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I think they may have argued about it a lot.
As amicable as a split can be.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about America when this film came out? Because I feel like that's quite important.
Big year for America, 1968. You mentioned Vietnam there with Savini. I mean, Vietnam was raging in the late 60s. Earlier on in the year, very famously, Martin Luther King was assassinated, and he was the leader of the civil rights movement, which after his assassination, it led to, a lot of anger, a lot of disillusionment across America, and that in turn devolved into the race riots, which were incredibly violent in lots of different cities across America. I think in June, just a couple of months after Martin Luther King was killed, Robert Kennedy was assassinated. So it was a pretty dire year. I think it's known in American history anyway as one of the most turbulent years in its history. And it's an interesting thing to raise, because obviously you have to consider audiences at the time, and a lot of what they would have been seeing, experiencing on the news was violence, was disruption, was death. America kind of turning on itself. And then they go and see a movie like this, where where a lot of those things are explored, albeit, within this very violent new kind of subgenre that had hitherto not been seen before. So I think, horror is always seen as a kind of reflection on society's fears. It's always seen as, furthering big changes and big upheavals in society at the time. And undeniably, this movie did spark a new direction for horror. No one had ever really seen a movie like this before. But also at the same time, no one had ever really seen the scenes that they were seeing on their news channels before. So it's I don't know, it's an interesting little parallel. And I did English, so I like making little connections with fiction like this. But it's very, very interesting. 1968 as well, it was also the year that the MPAA was formed. But luckily for this movie, it was only formed a month after this film's release.
So it was released uncut.
Yes.
Although a lot of distributors, it's part of the reason they had trouble finding distributors, because they wanted stuff cut. I think there was a little bit cut in the end, but for the most part, all the violence was kept in.
Yeah, because it didn't have an official rating, essentially. So a lot of the scenes were profoundly shocking to audiences. And it probably would have been a very different film had the MPAA actually been around.
I don't think it would have got released.
Maybe not.
They were not ready.
They were absolutely not ready. So yeah, 68, big year for America.
Interestingly, the word zombie is actually never used in this film. Zombie is not associated with this franchise until Dawn of the Dead.
No.
And at the time, zombies were usually associated with voodoo or something supernatural reanimating a corpse. In this, they're often referred to as either flesh eaters or ghouls.
Ghouls.
This is referenced in Shaun of the Dead. He says that, we don't use the Z word.
We don't like using the Z word.
Along with other lines saying, like, we're coming to get you, Barbara.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
This film influenced
so
a lot.
Many. So yeah, the word zombie was around, right? It wasn't like it came into existence after this movie.
Yeah, it's unclear when it started getting associated with these movies. Like, we think that critics might have just kind of taken the word
and ran with it.
And like I say, Romero eventually just adopted it.
Yeah.
And he has said that this is heavily influenced by the 1954 novel I Am Legend.
Yes.
And the Vincent Price movie Last Man on Earth that was not too long afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, in that story, they are vampires.
Yeah.
But he wanted to take the idea of an evil force roaming the earth.
Yes, just this unstoppable force.
The dystopian situation the characters find themselves in.
Bleak. The zombie franchise has always been bleak.
Bleak. On that note, I think we should start the movie.
I think we should too.
So watch along with us, and we will get back to you in the break.
They ought to make the day the time changes, the first day of summer.
What?
Well, it's 8 o'clock and it's still light.
A lot of good the extra daylight does us. Now, we've still got a 3-hour drive back. We're not going to be home until after midnight.
Well, if it really bugged you, Johnny, you wouldn't do it.
You think I want to blow Sunday on a scene like this? You know, I figure we're either going to have to move Mother out here or move the grave into Pittsburgh.
She can't make a trip like this.
Oh, you know that she can't. Is there any of that candy left?
No.
Look at this thing. We still remember. I don't. You know, I don't even remember what the man looks like.
Johnny, it takes you 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes to put the wreath on the grave and 6 hours to drive back and forth. Mother wants to remember, so we trot 200 miles into the country and she stays at home.
Well, we're here, John, all right?
Test. We're back on? Oh. Ladies and
Hey,
gentlemen, we're coming back on the air after an interruption due to technical problems.
There's nothing wrong with the radio. Must have been the station.
Which row is it in?
Well, there's no one around.
Well, it's late. If you'd gotten up earlier.
Oh, look, I already lost an hour's sleep on the time change.
I think you complain just to hear yourself talk. There it is.
I wonder what happened to the one from last year. Each year we spend good money on these things. We come out here and the one from last year's gone.
Well, the flowers die, and the caretaker or somebody takes them away.
Yeah, a little spit and polish. You can clean this up. Sell it next year. Wonder how many times we bought the same one. Hey, come on, Barb. Church was this morning, huh? Hey, I mean, praying's for church, huh? Come on.
I haven't seen you in church lately.
Well, there's not much sense in my going to church. Do you remember one time when we were small, we were out here? It was from right over there. I jumped out at you from behind the tree, and Grandpa got all excited, and he shook his fist at me, and he said, "Boy, you be damned to hell." Remember that? Right over there. Well, you used to really be scared here.
Johnny,
You're still afraid.
stop it now. I mean it.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it. You're ignorant.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
Stop it. You're acting like a child.
They're coming for you. Look, there comes one of them now.
He'll hear you.
Here he comes now. I'm getting out of here.
Johnny. Oh! No! No! Johnny! Help me!
Don't worry about him. I can handle him. Probably be a lot more of them as soon as they find out about us. The truck is out of gas. This pump out here is locked. Is there a key? We can try to get out here if we can get some gas. Is there a key? I suppose you've tried this. Do you live here? Jesus. We've got to get out of here. We have to get to where there's some other people. Maybe we better take some food. I'll see if I can find some food.
What's happening?
How do you think it's happening?
What's happening?
Two of them. There are two of them out there. Have you seen any more around here? I can take care of those two.
I
Look, I know you're afraid, but we have
I
to...
don't know! I don't know! What's happening?
Don't look at it. Get some more lights on in this house. Why don't you see if you can find some wood, some boards, something there by the fireplace, something we can nail this place up. Oh, God damn! Look, I know you're afraid. I'm afraid too. But we have to try to board the house up together. Now, I'm going to board up the windows and the doors. Do you understand? We'll be all right here. We'll be all right here until someone comes to rescue us. But we'll have to work together. You'll have to help me. Now, I want you to go in and get some wood so I can board the place up. Do you understand? Okay? Okay? that's wrong. Here, I want you to pick out some nails. Pick out the biggest ones you can find. There, this room looks pretty secure. If we have to, we can run in here and board up the doors. Won't be long for those things to be back pounding their way in here. They're afraid now. They're afraid of fire. I found that out. You know a place back down the road called Beekman's? Beekman's Diner? Anyhow, that's where I found that truck I have out there. There's a radio on the truck. I had jumped in to listen to it when a big gasoline truck came screaming right across the road. But there must have been 10, 15 of those things chasing after it, grabbing and holding on. Now, I didn't see them at first. I could just see that the truck was moving in a funny way. And those things were catching up to it. The truck went right across the road. Slammed on my brakes to keep from hitting it myself. It went right through the guardrail. I guess the driver must have cut off the road into that gas station by Beekman's Diner. It went right through the billboard, ripped over a gas pump, and never stopped moving. By now, it's like a moving bonfire. Didn't know if the truck was going to explode or what. Could still hear the man screaming. This thing is just backing away from it. I looked back at the diner to see if there was anyone there who could help me. It was when I noticed that the entire place had been encircled. There wasn't a sign of life left except by now there were no more screams. I realized that I was alone with 50 or 60 of those things, just standing there, staring at me. I started to drive. I just plowed right through them. They didn't move, they didn't run or just stood there, staring at me. Just wanted to crush them. They scattered through the air like bugs.
We were riding in the cemetery, Johnny and me. Johnny. We came to put a wreath on my father's grave. Johnny, and he said, "Can I have some candy, Barbara?" We didn't have any. And, oh, it's hot in here. Hot. And he said, "Oh, it's late. Why did we start so late?" And I said, "Johnny, if you'd gotten up earlier, we wouldn't be late." Johnny asked me if I were afraid. And I said, "I'm not afraid, Johnny." And then this man started walking up the road. He came slowly, and Johnny kept teasing me and saying, "He's coming to get you, Barbara." And I laughed at him and said, "Johnny, stop it." And then Johnny ran away. And I went up to this man, and I was going to apologize.
Why don't you just keep calm?
And I looked up, and I said, "Goody." And he grabbed me. He grabbed me, and he ripped at me. He held me, and he ripped at my clothes.
I think you should just calm down.
Oh, I screamed, "Johnny! Johnny, help me! Oh, help me!" And he wouldn't let me go. He ripped. And then Johnny came and he ran and he fought this man. And I got so afraid. I ran. And Johnny didn't come. We have to wait for Johnny. Maybe we better go out and get him. We have to go out and get Johnny. He's out there. Please, don't you hear me? We've got to go out and get him. Please! We have got to go get Johnny! Please help me! Please!
Look, don't you know what's going on out there? This is no Sunday school picnic.
Don't you understand? My brother is alone!
Your brother is dead.
No! My brother is not dead! Oh. Oh. Oh.
So, the first attack happens in less than 7 minutes into this movie.
Yeah.
When we're introduced to Barbara, played by Judith O'Dea, and Johnny, played by Russell Striner, who was also a producer.
Yeah.
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Coming to
It's so famous. And that cemetery was actually picked because of its isolation. Like, it's on top of a hill, surrounded by trees. They didn't want to be distracted by mourners or passers-by or police that were curious. Which is ironic because it's now a really popular tourist destination because of the film.
Yeah, it's like sacred ground for horror fans, that.
Apparently John Russo was often asked if the tombstone that Barbara is kneeling in front of was real or a prop, and his response was, "Of course it was real. We didn't have the money to make a tombstone."
Yeah, I know. It's like the poltergeist skeletons, you know? It's like, just use what's real. It's always the cheaper option.
And, well, after Johnny is dispatched off
Very
by
quickly.
the first...
Yeah.
One thing this movie establishes very early on, so the zombies, they can run in a shambly kind of way.
They're intelligent.
Yeah, or at least intelligent enough that they can problem solve. Like when we see him smashing at the window with a brick, that's more intelligent than what we see zombies in the future.
Yeah, and they also smashed the car.
Yes, and interesting, I know when the rock goes through the window, that nearly hit Romero, who obviously had the camera in the car. Did look, it got very close to the camera.
It looks pretty dangerous. I have to say as well, when Johnny is killed, when he's fighting with that guy and whacks his head on the gravestone, it always makes me wince. That's it. There's a nice little sound effect that comes with it, like a little thwack.
It's almost like that, $1 Million Baby when she
Yeah.
falls and hits on the chair.
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of the worst ways to go, I think.
Yeah.
Because surviving it would be worse than
Surviving
dying.
it, yeah, for sure.
The farmhouse that she ends up in, that was a real house that was due to be demolished. So when they got access, they could actually do whatever they wanted to it. So when they're hammering up the boards and stuff like that, they were really doing that. But it also meant, since it wasn't a set on a soundstage, the camera just had to fit into the available space, and it leads to a lot of the Dutch angles, the documentary style that kind of people associate with this, and a lot of Dutch angles.
Yeah.
I think the lighting is actually really good in this still.
I agree.
A lot of sharp shadows.
Yeah.
So we know that George Romero has a cameo at the top of the stairs, the zombie with the bulging eyes, and they were ping pong balls.
Okay. All right, nice.
And John Russo has a cameo as the zombie that gets killed with the tire iron through the head.
What, the one that manages to invade the house?
Yes.
That Ben takes
That
out.
Ben,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of
So-
the many that Ben takes out.
One of the many Ben takes out. So Ben, played by Dwayne Jones, he's fantastic in this. His monologue about what happened to him prior to this, it's great. He brings a gravitas to it. So he is the everyman in this that the audience can kind of follow the story. They see the story through his eyes. His role was initially written as a crude but capable truck driver.
Yeah.
And Caucasian.
Yes.
But when Dwayne auditioned, he did such a good audition that the role was completely rewritten to suit his personality. So he's like, he's capable, he's smart, he's in control, completely changing the film and making this film one of the first films to have a black man as the lead.
Yeah.
Romero's often said that when asked about how progressive the casting was, when he cast Dwayne, he wasn't making any outright statements on the civil rights movement. He always says Dwayne was just the best actor who auditioned, and the role went to him, and they evolved the role to suit him. But he must have known what would happen and how it would be perceived, especially when we get to the ending and various other bits throughout the movie. But it is a fantastic job, probably one of the best choices, because he's the most fondly remembered character in this film.
Rightly so.
Because he controls the scene. As soon as we see him, he's in control. He's fighting back. He's barricading the windows, which I think was a very popular zombies game, would be Call of Duty Zombies. And from the earliest map, one of the first things you learn how to do is board up the windows.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that is a reference to this.
Well, let's just also take into account, like, we met Ben 20 minutes ago. We've seen him take out 3 ghouls. We learn he drove through 60 ghouls off camera, just completely took them out. Yeah, he barricades the house. One of the first things he does is try and look for food, and he blockades the house with fire. This is the guy that you want on your team if you find yourself in the midst of a ghoul apocalypse. He's great.
So initially, Barbara was also written to be a bit more charismatic and functional.
Yes.
But again, they were impressed by her performance of a scared woman. So they kind of edited the script around that to lean more into that. And I think, especially toward the end of that first section, when she is having a full-on breakdown, I think she is really good there. But it is questionable throughout the rest of the film how useful she is. And I think her performance is debated. But there are moments when she looks truly terrified. And I think it's quite a realistic portrayal of how a lot of people would react in this scenario.
Yeah, I think so. Like, she acts scared very well. And it's true, like, once she pretty much meets Ben, she does kind of crumble. And I understand that a lot of people will find that annoying, especially maybe modern audiences who are used to female characters in horrors, like Scream Queens, Final Girls, acting a little bit differently. But, let's be honest, it's a fairly realistic reaction to for just finding yourself in, like, a no-context zombie attack. It's like she's just seen her brother die. She has no idea what is going on. And the other thing too is, women's portrayal in horrors, obviously it's fluctuated a lot over the years, but it can't always be about the strong, independent woman. There's always going to be a place for the less capable women out there, because, that is absolutely a personality too. It deserves to be seen. Not everyone can be, like the strong, brave heroine. It's like, not everyone can be a Ripley. Like, what if you're a Barbara? And this film kind of says, like, there's a place for you out there. And, at the end of the day, we have no idea how we would react if we found ourselves in this situation. So I do appreciate, like, there are scenes, I find her a little bit grating, and, I wish she was a little bit braver. But I understand, I think, what Romero was trying to do. And I appreciate that, this particular portrayal exists.
Yeah.
So that's what I have to say on that.
One more thing I want to kind of touch on before we move into the next section of the film is Dwayne, Ben, was a bit uncomfortable with having to slap Barbara. Even though obviously he's not really slapping her, and obviously she's hysterical in this moment. She's hitting it. It's the only thing I think he knows how to, like,
Well, she's going to open the door.
Yeah, she could cause the death of both of them. But he said on the day he kind of said he didn't feel comfortable about it because of the climate at the time. He didn't think audience would react very well. It wouldn't look very good for a black man to be striking a white woman.
It's totally understandable.
And Romero just kind of said, basically, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Don't worry.
He did say in later years that that's something he kind of regrets. Not that the scene happened, but that
he wasn't more sensitive.
That he wasn't more
Dwayne's
sensitive to it, and he
concerns.
wished that he'd had a chance to talk to him about it before he passed. I think it's something that had kind of irked him into his later years.
Oh.
It seems weird as a man to say it makes sense what he does, but she was about to potentially cause the death of them.
Look.
And she was hysterical.
Some people might view it as a problematic scene, but, these are two characters in a very, very desperate situation, and she was about to do something that, could have been catastrophic for them both. And again, not to keep reverting back to Shaun of the Dead, but it's that classic thing of, when David is desperate to open the doors and escape, and, they have to, they have to get pretty antsy with him and say, no, it's suicide. You open that door.
Yeah.
It's like desperate times, desperate measures.
It's kind of like, it's making me think of a scene from one of live action Scooby-Doo's when Scooby has to punch Shaggy because he's hysterical. So, thanks, I needed that. You're pushing your luck, Scoob.
You're pushing your luck.
Sometimes you just need to be hit in the face to calm down.
Also, just one more little Shaun of the Dead connection. I know we've talked about, coming to get you, Barbara. Obviously, parodied in Shaun of the Dead.
We're coming to get you, Barbara!
But what I want to say is that George Romero, when he saw that film, at first he didn't catch the homage. It had to be pointed out to him. He went back and he viewed the scene and was like, oh yeah. Because
George Romero does really like Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
And that's why Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright are in Land of the Dead.
Yeah,
they are in a scene as zombies that are chained up as like a chance to be photographed, but they're also on the front cover on either side of Big Daddy, the main zombie.
Yeah.
And I love that. I absolutely love that. That being said, shall we continue with the movie? We'll see you all in a little bit.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments. At this hour, we repeat, these are the facts as we know them. There is an epidemic of mass murder being committed by a virtual army of unidentified assassins. The murders are taking place in villages, cities, rural homes, and suburbs with no apparent pattern or reason for the slayings. It seems to be a sudden, general explosion of mass homicide. We have some descriptions of the assassins. Eyewitnesses say they are ordinary-looking people. Some say they appear to be in a kind of trance. Others describe them as being... So, at this point, there is no really authentic way for us to say who or what to look for and guard yourself against. Misshapen monsters. Reaction of law enforcement officials is one of complete bewilderment at this hour. So far, we have been unable to determine that any kind of organized investigation is yet underway. Police, sheriff's deputies, and emergency ambulances are literally deluged with calls for help. The scene can best be described as mayhem. Mayors of Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Miami, along with the governors of several eastern and midwestern states, have indicated the National Guard may be mobilized at any moment, but that has not happened as yet. The only advice our reporters have been able to get from official sources is for private citizens to stay in their homes behind locked doors. Do not venture outside for any reason until the nature of this crisis has been determined and until we can advise what course of action to take. Keep listening to radio and TV for any special instructions as this crisis develops further. Thousands of office and factory workers are being urged to stay at their places of employment, not to make any attempt to get to their homes. However, in spite of this urging and warning, streets and highways are packed with frantic people trying to reach their families or apparently to flee just anywhere. We repeat, the safest course of action at this time is simply to stay where just received word that the president has called a meeting of his cabinet to deal with the sudden epidemic of murder which has seized the eastern third of this nation. The meeting is scheduled to convene within the hour. Members of the presidential cabinet will be joined by officials of the FBI and the Joint Chiefs behind closed doors. The White House spokesman, in announcing this conference, says there will be an official announcement as soon as possible following that meeting. This is the latest dispatch just received in our newsroom. Latest word also from National Press Services in Washington, D.C. now tells us that the emergency presidential conference, which we've just mentioned, will include high-ranking scientists from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. That's the extent of this latest bulletin. Repeating, the President, members of his cabinet, the FBI, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and scientists from NASA within the hour. All radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country, including the one to which you were listening, have joined their facilities in an emergency network to bring you this news as it develops. We urge you to stay tuned to radio and TV and to stay indoors at all costs. Late reports reaching this newsroom tell of frightened people seeking refuge in churches, schools, and government buildings, demanding shelter and protection from the wholesale murder which apparently is engulfing much of the nation. Law enforcement officials are at a loss to explain or, even at this hour, even to theorize about the reasons for this wave of murder. So far, the advice they're able to give the public is somewhat like the words of Police Chief T.K. Dunmore of Camden, North Carolina, who's quoted as saying, quote, "Tell the people for God's sake to get off the streets. Tell them to go home and lock their doors and windows up tight. We don't know what kind of murder-happy characters we have here." End quote. Police Chief Dunmore of Camden, North Carolina. So far, the only descriptions, the only clues anyone has of the killers come from frightened witnesses of some of the slayings. These eyewitness accounts variously describe the murderers as ordinary-looking people, misshapen monsters, people who look like they're in a trance, and things that look like people but act like animals. Some eyewitnesses tell of seeing victims who look as though they had been torn apart. This whole ghastly story began developing 2 days ago with the report of the slaying of a family of 7 in their rural home near Gulfport, Louisiana. Since then, reports of such senseless killings began snowballing in a reign of terror which has hopscotched in an erratic, disconnected manner throughout much of the eastern and midwestern United States. Efforts to keep track of the murder reports by the placing of markers on a map seem to indicate a general spreading from the extreme southeastern United States to the north and west. Our newsmen have been on the telephone talking with officials in other cities and have determined that none of this kind of mass murder has yet been reported west of the Mississippi River, except in the extreme southeastern portion of Texas. Similar killings have been reported around the Houston and Galveston areas, but nothing like...
I found a gun and some bullets out there.
It was only late yesterday
Oh, and
when it
these.
first became clear we were facing some kind of national emergency. When first reports began filtering in, newsmen and law enforcement agencies were of the opinion
This
that
place is
killings
boarded
were
up pretty solid now.
in nature. However, as these
We ought to be all right here for a
reports
while.
increased dramatically, it was soon apparent that
We have
this
the
was
gun
something
and
more than the
bullets,
usual run of lawlessness.
food and the
Some
radio.
officials began to suspect an obscure kind of conspiracy.
Sooner or later, someone's
Things as
bound to come and get us out.
creatures from outer space. So again, we join with law enforcement agencies in urging you to seek shelter in a building. Lock the doors and windows securely.
Hey, that's us. We're doing all right.
Be cautious of any suspicious strangers. And keep tuned to your radio and television for survival instructions and further details of this continuing story.
Look, I don't know if you're hearing me,
Goes on in the absence of any law
but I'm going upstairs now.
It's almost as though some critical balance of
If anything should try to break in here, I can hear it from up there. I'll be down to take care of it.
savage killers. We repeat, this radio station.
Everything is all right for now. I'll be back to reinforce the windows and doors later. But you'll be all right for now, okay? Okay.
Dateline on this report is Cumberland, Maryland. Civil defense officials in Cumberland have told newsmen that murder victims show evidence of having been partially devoured by their murderers. Inconsistent reports from witnesses to the effect that people who acted as though they were in a kind of trance were killing and eating their victims prompted authorities to examine the bodies of some of the victims. Medical authorities in Cumberland have concluded that in all cases, the killers are eating the flesh of the people they murdered. Repeating this latest bulletin just received moments ago from Cumberland, Maryland, civil defense authorities have told newsmen that murder victims show evidence of having been partially devoured by their murderers. Medical examination of victims' bodies shows conclusively that the killers are eating the flesh of the people they kill. And so this incredible story becomes more ghastly with each report. It's difficult to imagine such a thing actually happening, but these are the reports we have been receiving and passing on to you, reports which have been verified as completely as is possible in this confused situation. It is happening, and it would appear that no one is safe from this wave of mass murder.
Don't shoot. We're from town. A radio.
County, Pennsylvania. The Butler County Sheriff has verified that reports of murder victims being partially eaten by their slayers is true. No further details available at this time. However,
How long you guys been down there? I could use some help up here.
That's the cellar. It's the safest place.
You mean you didn't hear the racket we were making up here?
How were we supposed to know what was going on? Could have been those things for all we knew.
That girl was screaming. Sure, you must know what a girl screaming sounds like. Those things don't make any noise. Anybody would know somebody ever needed help.
Look, it's kind of hard to hear what's going on from down there.
We thought we could hear screams, but for all we knew, that could have meant those things were in the house afterward.
And you wouldn't come up and help?
Well, if there were more of
The
it.
racket sounded like the place was being ripped apart. How were we supposed to know what was going on?
Now, wait a minute. You just got finished saying you couldn't hear from down there. Now you say it sounded like the place was being ripped apart. It would be nice if you get your story straight, man.
All right, now you tell me. I'm not going to take that kind of a chance when we got a safe place. We luck into a safe place, and you're telling us we got to risk our lives just because somebody might need help, huh?
Yeah, something like that.
All right, why don't we settle this?
Look, mister, we came up. Okay, we're here. Now I suggest we all go back downstairs before any of those things find out we're in here.
They can't get in here.
You got the whole place boarded up?
Yeah, most of it. All but a few spots upstairs. They won't be hard to fix.
You're insane. The cellar's the safest place.
I'm telling you, they can't get in here.
And I'm telling you, those things turned over our car. We were damn lucky to get away at all. Now you tell me those things can't get through this lousy pile of wood?
His wife and kids downstairs. The kid's hurt.
Well, I still think we're better off up here.
We could strengthen everything up, Mr. Cooper.
With all of us working, we could fix this place up in no time. We have everything we need up here.
We can take all that stuff downstairs with us. Man, you're really crazy, you know that? You got 1,000,000 windows up here. All these windows, you're gonna make them strong enough to keep these things out, huh?
I told you, those things don't have any strength. I smashed 3 of them and pushed another one out the door.
Did you hear me when I told you they turned over our car?
Oh, hell, any good 5 men can do that.
That's my point. Only there's not going to be 5 or even 10. There's going to be 20, 30, maybe 100 of those things. And as soon as they know we're here, this place is going to be crawling with them.
Well, if there are that many, they'll probably get us wherever we are.
Look, the cellar. The cellar, there's only one door, right? Just one door, that's all we have to protect. Tom and I fixed it so it locks and boards from the inside. But up here, all these windows, why, we'd never know where they were going to hit us next.
You got a point, Mr. Cooper. But down in the cellar, there's no place to run to. I mean, if they did get in, there'd be no back exit. We'd be done for. We can get out of here if we have to. And we got windows to see what's going on outside. But down there with no windows, if a rescue party did come, we wouldn't even know it.
But the cellar is the strongest place.
The cellar is a death trap.
I don't know, Mr. Cooper. I think he's right. You know how many's out there?
I don't know. Maybe 6 or 7.
Look, you two can do whatever you like. I'm going back down to the cellar, and you better decide. Because I'm going to board up that door, and I'm not going to unlock it again no matter what happens.
Now, wait a minute, Mr. Cooper.
No, I'm not going to wait. I've made my decision, now you make yours.
Now, wait a minute. Let's think about this. We can make it to the cellar if we have to. And if we do decide to stay down there, we'll need some things from up here. So let's at least consider this a while.
If you box yourself in this cellar and those things get in the house, you've had it. At least up here you have a fighting chance.
Yeah, it looks like about 8 or 10 out there now.
There's more than there were. There are a lot out back, too.
So far, the best advice there
It's all right.
We gotta fix these boards.
You're crazy. Those things are going to be at every window and door in this place. We've got to get down into the cellar.
Go down in your damn cellar. Get out of here!
I'm taking the girl with me.
You leave her here. Keep your hands off her. And everything else that's up here, too. Because if I stay up here, I'm fighting for everything up here. And the radio and the food is part of what I'm fighting for. Now, if you're going down the cellar, get.
The man's insane. He's insane. We've got to have food down there. We've got a right.
This is your house.
We've got a right.
You going down there with him?
Well,
yes or no? This is your last chance. No beating around the bush.
Listen, I got a kid down there. She can't possibly. I couldn't bring her up here. She can't possibly take all the racket and those things smashing through the windows.
Well, you're her father. If you're stupid enough to go die in that trap, that's your business. However, I am not stupid enough to follow you. It is tough for the kid that old man is so stupid. Now, you get the hell down in the cellar. You can be the boss down there. I'm boss up here.
You bastards. You know, I won't open this door again. I mean it.
Mr. Cooper, with your help, we could...
With my help.
Let him go, man. His mind is made up. Just let him go.
Wait a minute. Judy, come on up here, honey.
You're gonna let them get hurt too, huh?
It's all right, honey. Go ahead. If we stick together, man, we can fix it up real good. There's lots of places we can run to up here. Mr. Cooper, we'd all be a lot better off if all three of us were working together.
Hey. Hey, kid. He's wrong, you know. I'm not boxing myself in down there.
We repeat, this radio station will remain on the air day and night.
Well, we're safe now. It's boarded up tight.
What about Tom and Judy?
They want to stay up there, let them. There are two other people upstairs, a man and a girl.
We heard you screaming.
Yeah, but I didn't know who they were, and I wasn't about to take any unnecessary chances.
Of course not, Harry.
Is she all right?
I don't know what it is. She feels warm. Maybe it's shock.
Where'd you get the bandage?
Some laundry in a basket. I tore a sheet.
Let them stay upstairs. Let them. Too many ways those monsters can get in up there. We'll see who's right. We'll see when they come begging me to let them in down here.
That's important, isn't it?
What?
To be right, everybody else to be wrong.
What do you mean by that?
Does anyone up there know why we're being attacked?
Whatever it isn't just happening here. It's some kind of mass murder. It's going on everywhere. The radio said to stay inside.
Radio?
Radio upstairs. I heard a news bulletin.
There's a radio upstairs and you boarded us in down here?
I know what I'm doing.
What did it say?
Nothing. Nothing. They don't know anything yet. There's mass murder everywhere, and people are supposed to look for a safe place to hide.
Take the boards off that door.
We are staying down here, Helen.
Harry, that radio is at least some kind of communication. If the authorities know what's happening, well, they'll send people for us so they'll tell us what to do. How are we going to know what's going on if we lock ourselves in this dungeon? We may not enjoy living together, but dying together isn't going to solve anything. Those people aren't our enemies.
Mr. Cooper! Mr. Cooper, Ben found the television set upstairs.
Let's go up. Tom?
Yeah.
If Judy would come downstairs for a few minutes, Harry and I could come upstairs.
Okay, yeah, right away.
Will you do it?
Do I have to?
Look, honey, nothing's gonna get done with them down there and us up here. Do this for me.
Okay.
Okay, open up.
I'll take good care of her, Helen.
She's all I have.
Why don't you go upstairs now?
Her brother was killed.
Hey, give me a hand with this thing.
I gotta go help Ben with the television.
Don't be afraid of me. I'm Helen Cooper, Harry's wife.
This place is ridiculous. Look at this. There's a million weak spots up here. Give me one of those.
Her brother was killed.
And they talk about these windows. I can't see a damn thing. There could be 15 million of those things out there. That's how much good these windows are.
Why don't you do something to help somebody?
Here, I have it. Drag a couple of those chairs together.
There's a socket over here. You better watch this and try to understand what's going on. I don't want anyone's life on my hands.
Is there anything I can do to help?
I don't want to hear any more from you, mister. If you stay up here, you take orders from me. And that includes leaving the girl alone.
It's on, it's on.
There's no sound. Play with the rabbit ears.
Reports, incredible as they seem, are not the results of mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria. What do they think? We're imagining all this?
Shut up! In all parts of the country. The wave of murder which is sweeping the eastern third of the nation is being committed by creatures who feast upon the flesh of their victims. First eyewitness accounts of this grisly development came from people who were understandably frightened and almost incoherent. Officials and newsmen at first discounted those eyewitness descriptions as being beyond belief. However, the reports persisted. The medical examinations of some of the victims bore out the fact that they had been partially devoured. I think we have some late word just arriving, and I'll interrupt to bring this to you. This is the latest disclosure in a report from National Civil Defense Headquarters in Washington. It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder. A widespread investigation of reports from funeral homes, morgues, and hospitals has concluded that the unburied dead are coming back to life and seeking human victims. It's hard for us here to believe what we're reporting to you, but it does seem to be a fact. When this emergency first began, radio and television was advising people to stay inside, behind locked doors for safety. Well, that situation has now changed, and we're able to report a definite course of action for you. Civil defense machinery has been organized to provide rescue stations with food, shelter, medical treatment, and protection by armed National Guardsmen. Stay tuned to the broadcasting stations in your local area for this list of rescue stations. This list will be repeated throughout our news coverage. Look for the name of the rescue station nearest you and make your way to that location as soon as possible.
So we have that truck. If we can get some gas, we can get out of here.
There's a pump out by the shed.
I know, that's why I pulled in here, but it's locked.
Emergency meeting called this afternoon by the president. Since convening this conference of the presidential cabinet, the FBI, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the CIA has not produced any public information. Why are space experts being consulted about an earthbound emergency? So far, all the betting on the answer to that question centers on the recent Explorer satellite shot to Venus. That satellite, you'll recall, started back to Earth, but never got here. That's the space vehicle which orbited Venus and then was purposely destroyed by NASA when scientists discovered it was carrying a mysterious high-level radiation with it. Could that radiation be somehow responsible for the wholesale murders we're now suffering? Newsman Don Quinn in Washington has posed those questions.
It's obvious our best move is to try to get out of here.
How are you going to get over to that pump?
Look.
You're coming from a meeting regarding the explosion of the Venus probe, is that right?
Yes, that was the subject of the meeting.
You feel there is a connection between this and the phenomenon?
There's a definite connection.
In other words, you feel that the radiation on the Venus probe is enough to cause these mutations?
There was a very high degree of radiation.
Well, just a minute. I'm not sure that that's certain at all. I don't think that has been
only logical
irrefutably
explanation
proved.
that we have at this time.
In other words, it is the military's viewpoint that the radiation is not the cause of the mutation.
I can't speak for the entire military at this time, gentlemen.
This seems to
I
be...
must disagree with these gentlemen presently until this is irrefutably proved.
everything is being done that can be done.
We'll have to hurry for our next meeting.
Professor, you feel that there is a definite connection between them?
Definite connection as far as Dr. Keller and myself.
Doctor, please. I thought we decided that is not proved yet.
Was the satellite, when the satellite was exploded?
An unusual amount of radiation, enough to cause mutation under certain circumstances.
Could have happened.
Have a bearing on it.
It does seem to have a bearing.
Will there be a reply for this further?
Later?
Yes.
There will be a reply.
Yes.
Later this afternoon. There will be a report this afternoon, sir.
Well, perhaps there will
Yes,
be a report,
yes.
a more
Later.
full report. Will you close the window?
We are doing everything possible to solve the problem.
We're hoping to get some further explanation of this.
We've heard all we need to know. We have to try to get out of here.
He said the rescue stations have doctors and medical supplies. If we could get Karen there, we could get help for her.
Romero is one of the world's foremost authorities on space science and technology.
Willard. I saw a sign that said Willard.
It's only about 17 miles from here.
You know this area. You from around here?
Judy and I are both from around here. We were on our way up to the lake to go swimming, and Judy had a radio, and we heard the first reports about this. So we knew the old house was here, and we came in and found the lady upstairs dead. Then these other people came. We went down into the basement and put a bar across the door, and it is pretty strong.
How could we possibly get away from here? We've got a sick child, 2 women, 1 woman out of her head, 3 men, and the place is surrounded with these things.
For NASA. Dr. Grimes, your entire staff, I know, has been working very hard to find some solution to these things that are happening. Do you have any answers at this time?
Yes, we have some answers. But first, let me stress the importance of seeking medical attention for anyone who's been injured in any way. We don't know yet what complications might result from such injuries.
How bad has your kid been hurt?
Good advice, Doctor. Now, how about the basic problem with patients? Well,
Look, you go down there and tell... Now, Judy? Yeah, you tell Judy to come up here and you stay with the kid, all right?
Action taken with regard to the Venus probe. In the cold room at the university, we had a cadaver from which all 4 limbs had been amputated. Sometime early this morning, it opened its eyes and began to move its trunk. It was dead, but it opened its eyes and tried to move.
They want you upstairs. Did she ask for me?
She hasn't said anything.
I don't understand. Baby. It's Mommy.
I heard. I'll come back down as soon as I find out what they want.
Thank you, Judy.
The body should be disposed of at once, preferably by cremation.
Well, how long after death, then, does the body become reactivated?
It's only a matter of minutes.
Minutes? Well, that doesn't give people time to make any arrangements.
Oh, you're right. It doesn't give them time to make funeral arrangements. The bodies must be carried to the street and burned. They must be burned immediately. Soak them with gasoline and burn them. The bereaved will have to forego the dubious comforts that a funeral service will give. They're just dead flesh and dangerous.
I see.
Judy, I need you to find some bedspreads or sheets to tear up into small strips, okay? Is there a fruit cellar here?
Yes.
We need some bottles or jars. Make Molotov cocktails and hold them off while we try to escape.
Hey, there's a big can of kerosene down there.
I'll see what I can find.
I'll look for the bottles.
There's a big key ring down there. There may be a key to the gas pump on it.
I'll check.
We can toss the cocktails from a window upstairs. Meantime, a couple of us can go out and try to get the gas and come back for the rest of the people.
But that'll leave a door open someplace.
Yeah, that's right. It better be this door. It's closer to the truck. Before we go out, we'll put some supplies behind the cellar door. While we're gone, the rest of you can hold up in there.
I found some fruit jars in the cellar. And there's a key on here that's labeled for the gas pump out back.
I'm not really that used to the truck. I found it abandoned.
I can handle the truck, no sweat.
You're it, then. You and I'll go. We'll put whatever lumber we find behind the cellar door. You can go upstairs and toss the cocktails from a window. Tom, you and I will have to unboard this door. After you toss the cocktails, you hustle back down here and lock this door. It's no good to board it up because we'll have to get back in quickly. After we get the gas and get back into the house, then we'll worry about getting everybody into the truck. Now let's move it.
No place to flee for safety, except to the rescue stations which have been set up. Indications are that before this emergency is over, we will need many, many more such rescue stations.
You always have a smile for me. How can you smile like that all the time? How many do you have done? Come on, honey, we gotta move.
Tom, are you sure about the phone?
The phone is dead out. All you get is a recorded message.
If I could only call the folks. They're going to be so worried about us.
Everything will be all right. As soon as we get to Willard, we'll call them. They might even be there.
I know. Tom. Are you sure we're doing the right thing, Tom?
What, about getting out of here?
Yeah.
Well, the television said that's the right thing to do. We've got to get to a rescue station.
I don't know.
Come on, honey, you're starting to sound like Mr. Cooper now.
But why do you have to go out there?
Look, I know how to handle that truck, and I can handle the pump. Ben doesn't know anything about that stuff.
But we're safe in here.
For how long, honey? We're safe now. But there's going to be more and more of those things.
I know all that.
Hey, listen. Remember when we had the big flood? Remember how difficult it was for us to convince you that it was right to leave? Remember we had to go to Willard then? This isn't a passing thing, honey. It's not like just a wind passing through. We've got to do something, and fast.
I just don't want you to go out there, that's all.
Hey, Smiley. Where's that big smile for me? Boy, you're sure no use at all, aren't you? We've got work to do, honey. And you...
We better get her downstairs.
We have to go downstairs now, Barbara.
She's right. You have to go downstairs now, just for a little while, until we get back. Then we can all leave.
Oh, I'd like to leave. Yes.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Okay, so not a very action-heavy segment, this
No.
one. This is, well, we have a lot more characters.
Psychologically, very interesting.
One thing I also really like is having the radio and the TV segments. It's not just an instant information dump, it's gradual over time as the news stations are learning more, our characters start learning more, so we learn more. So it like brings up a sense of scale, and having them there also makes it feel like a much bigger event. I think they said because Washington DC wasn't too far from where they were filming, so they just went in. Like George Romero was one of the reporters,
like field reporters. Yeah.
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 So
That
I
makes
always
sense.
really like those segments. I like how it goes from radio broadcast, second Europe radio broadcast. Oh, we've got a TV. Let's get the TV. Progressing through, getting more serious.
Also, very scarily accurate how that radio broadcast earlier brought back memories of 2020.
It did.
Stay indoors, guys. Do not go outside, whatever you do.
Also,
Weird parallel. That's an epidemic.
the movie suggests that it is radiation from space from a fallen
Yes.
satellite that might have brought the dead back. It's never touched on again in the other movies, so I think you can
No.
kind of look at it as it's a theory.
Yeah, an interesting one.
We also established that they were afraid of fire in this one.
Yeah.
And Ben sets the chair on fire,
Well.
throws it out the front door.
Most creatures retreat from fire.
Yes, it's we learn as children. Fire hot.
I was quoting a movie there.
What are you quoting?
Alien.
Oh, right.
That's what
No,
Ash
I was quoting from real life when you burn yourself for the very first time. But I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks.
So
Guys.
we have a lot more characters now.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, the
So
house is filling up.
Yes, we are introduced to Harry Cooper, played by Carl Hardman, who was a producer. He was also one of the producers. I believe he was actually a co-producer, as well as he served as a makeup artist, sound effects engineer, and stills photographer.
Okay.
We have Harry's wife, Helen Cooper, played by Marilyn Eastman, who was also a producer,
Yes.
makeup artist, sound assistant, and the bug-eating zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she did a lot of the makeup effects, and rather than trying to make the characters look like dead and rotting, they tried to just amplify certain features of the face to make them just look off compared to our living characters, more ghoulish.
To be fair, like that scene with her where she eats the bug off the tree, like it's half of her face looks like it's scarred, like almost like radiation poisoning.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
It's also because in this movie started out as it was going to be a sci-fi, wasn't it?
Yes,
it was going to be
it was.
about aliens.
About alien, yeah. Comedy film about aliens.
Yeah, which is mad. So we also have their daughter, Karen, who is Carl Hardman's daughter in real life. And Carl and Marilyn were together as well. So it's literally a family that we're introduced to.
Family affair.
We also have Tom, played by Keith Wayne, and Judy, played by Judith Riley, who was Carl Hardman's receptionist.
Yes. And also, not written it down, but she was one-time wife of Russell Strainer, the guy who plays Johnny at the beginning.
It's a very incestuous cast.
Yeah, it is.
It's like the production company that made this, Image 10, is basically just Romero, Russo, Striner, a bunch of friends and family, and almost all of them ended up doing various roles throughout. Like, very few people did just one thing on this film. It's literally, we don't have that much money. We can't hire that many people.
Yeah.
Do whatever you can.
Yeah. Are you a sound engineer? No. Well, you are now, my friend.
You are now.
Yeah.
You ever played a zombie before? No. Well, have you ever played a ghoul before?
Yeah.
Not a zombie. No? Well, you are today. I just love that
Very
indie filmmaking approach, like guerrilla filmmaking. Do whatever you can. Even if you can't do it, learn on the job.
Just learn. Yeah, exactly. Learn how.
So these characters have been hiding in the basement.
Yeah.
Harry claims to have not been able to hear what was going on, thinking it was the ghouls.
Mm.
Clearly, he was just a bit scared.
Yes.
His daughter is injured and unwell.
Harry is a very desperate man.
Instantly, there is animosity between Ben and Harry.
Yeah, the alphas.
The two alphas. You got Harry, who's, you can tell by his family dynamic, even his wife says, you're always right, that's what's important.
Yes.
He's very much in charge, not in a happy marriage. Harry believes they should stay in the basement because it's one door that you can barricade, concentrate on. Ben believes they should stay upstairs. Harry says it's a bad idea because of all the windows. Ben believes but trapping them in the basement means there's no way to escape. Once you're down there, you are down there.
Yeah.
And they clash over this a lot, almost splitting the group.
Yeah, I like that line. Ben says, "You can be the boss down there, but I'm the boss up here." You know, like establishing turfs. But the reason why I really like this whole sequence, I mean, you mentioned that it's not particularly action heavy, but just in terms of an exploration of morality, it's really, really interesting. Just psychologically, what fear will do to you when there is that clash of opinions in a very, small, confined space. And obviously, because it's 1968, everyone is just kind of smoking themselves to death anyway. Everyone is just lighting them up, smoking like chimneys, because they're all so scared. Both of them have valid points too. You can't necessarily say that Ben is right and Harry is wrong. It's like, yes, the basement is on the surface a safe space, it's it is the most secure, but at the same time, isn't it best to be upstairs where you can assess things, where you've got the radio, where the food is, where you can actually track the ghouls' movements? So again, Shaun of the Dead, this is essentially the Winchester.
Yeah.
This house is the Winchester.
And as more news comes in, they realize they can't stay there, that there are places they can go to because Harry needs to get his daughter medical attention.
Yes.
And they realize there's a place not too far. The truck is out of gas. They realize that in the basement is the key, and they start making a plan. Molotov cocktails from the top floor thrown by Harry. Again, Shaun of the Dead used Molotov cocktails.
They did.
I feel like we just need to do a comparison video of these. We knew it was influenced by Romero's films, obviously. While Ben and Tom go and get the car fueled up, then they'll bring the car to the front door and they can all escape.
Yeah.
So that is the point that we've left this at. They're about to go out there. So they've started to form a plan.
Yeah.
They've got a goddamn plan. Any Tremors fans out there?
Yeah. Another thing, just quick, that I noticed, I've never really cottoned on in previous viewings, is when Bob comes to And you know, like, let's be honest, she's pretty much comatose throughout this sort of second
She's
half.
not had a ton to do here.
No, she's barely had. I think she's had one line of dialogue. But I have noticed that her relationship with Ben has changed. When she wakes up, he very gently, almost very sweetly, he gives her shoes that he finds in the closet, and he just kind of, you know, very gently puts them on her feet. And he's not only being very resourceful, but he's also trying to comfort her in any way he knows how. And when the other cast of characters come into play, Barbara looks to Ben for guidance and a little bit of reassurance. Like, she doesn't listen to Tom, she doesn't listen to Harry, she doesn't listen to Helen. It's like she looks to Ben for, like, what do I do here? Like, do you want me to go into the basement? Okay, then I'll go into the basement. So I find that interesting. And he's obviously very protective of her too. He's like, you know, no, you don't touch her. Like, leave her alone. She's with me. So just an interesting little observation that I'd never really cottoned on to before.
And obviously all zombie movies, there's usually a message, and I guess it's kind of similar to monster movies. It's like, who are the real monsters? Is it the creatures out there or the creatures in here? And I think that is kind of shown the instant distrust that Harry has towards Ben and that Ben has towards Harry. Ben doesn't want Barb going downstairs because he doesn't know Harry, and he thinks he's stupid for wanting to lock himself down in that dungeon, essentially, with no way out.
Yeah.
He straight up just calls him stupid.
It's the biggest crime against Harry, is that unfortunately Ben thinks he is a very stupid man.
Yeah.
Fear makes you do stupid things.
Okay, guys. We are now going into the final half hour of this film. Like I said, this last section, not very action-filled, but it's very important to see where the characters are at, introduce the new characters, and just to see all those dynamics setting the stage for what is about to happen. And things are about to ramp up in a way that audiences in 1968, they just weren't ready for.
No, people were watching...
But the kids were going to love it. So I'm throwing out any reference that comes to my head to anything.
I love it. I was just going to say, people were watching Dark Shadows every night, you know? That was their level of scares.
Oh, of course. Was Barnabas in it at this point in 68?
Barnabas was absolutely in it. Yeah. It was, you know, they were watching little cozy gothic horrors. And then this film just exploded all over the place.
I also, the blood in this, kind of similarly to in Psycho, it's chocolate sauce.
Yeah.
I believe there's a scene, it's probably coming up where we see a zombie like chomping down on a hand, and that the hand was made of clay covered in chocolate sauce. It shows up best on film, and I think a lot of times the zombies end up eating like bits of beef people's lunches, meatballs covered in chocolate sauce, which, it can't be nice.
It sounds like something Shaggy and Scooby would absolutely love. That's their late night snack.
Oh, it would.
Meatballs with chocolate sauce.
On that gag-worthy note, let's get into the final part of this film, and we will see you when the credits roll to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
unless you're coming, come on! Get in!
This key won't work.
Watch it. Watch the torch.
We gotta get away from the pump. Hang on.
Tom, find your courage to get out of the truck.
Let's get out of here. Come on, come on.
My jacket's caught.
Drag you out there and feed you those things.
3 o'clock yet. There's supposed to be another broadcast at 3 o'clock.
10 minutes.
Oh, only 10 more minutes? We don't have very long to wait. We can leave. Well, we'd better leave soon. It's 10 minutes to 3.
You know anything about this area at all? I mean, is Willard the nearest town?
I don't know. We were just trying to get to a motel before dark.
You said those things turned your car over. You think we can get it back on its wheels and drive it? Where is it?
Seems like it was pretty far away. Seems like we ran.
Forget it. It's at least a mile.
Johnny has the keys.
You're gonna carry that child a mile through that army of things out there?
I can carry the kid. What's wrong with her? How'd she get hurt?
One of those things grabbed her.
Bit her on the arm.
What's wrong?
Who knows what kind of disease those things carry? Is she conscious?
Barely.
She can't walk. She's too weak.
Well, one of us could try to get to the car.
You gonna turn it over by yourself?
You can't start the car. Johnny has the keys.
You have a car? Where? Where is it?
You won't be able to start it.
Yeah, I know. But where is it?
Good Lord.
Being monitored closely by scientists at all the radiation detection stations. At this hour, they report the level of the mysterious radiation continues to increase steadily. So long as this situation remains, government spokesmen warn that dead bodies will continue to be transformed into the flesh-eating ghouls. All persons who die during this crisis, from whatever cause, will come back to life to seek human victims unless their bodies are first disposed of by cremation. Our news cameras have just returned from covering such a search and destroy operation against the ghouls, this one conducted by Sheriff Conan McClellan in Butler County, Pennsylvania. So now let's go to that film report. All law enforcement agencies and the military have been organized to search out and destroy the marauding ghouls. The Survival Command Center at the Pentagon has disclosed that a ghoul can be killed by a shot in the head or a heavy blow to the skull. Officials are quoted as explaining that since the brain of a ghoul has been activated by the radiation, the plan is kill the brain and you kill the ghoul.
Want anything from the supply wagon, Gus?
No, we're all right. Hey, Cass, put that thing all the way in the fire. We don't want it getting up again. All right, I got you.
Chief McClellan, how's everything going?
Oh, things aren't going too bad. Men are taking it pretty good. You want to get on the other side of the road over there?
Chief, do you think we'll be able to defeat these things?
Well, we killed 19 of them today right in this area. Those last 3 we caught trying to claw their way into an abandoned shed. They must have thought somebody was in there. There wasn't, though. We heard them making all kind of noise. We came over and beat them off, blasted them down.
Chief, as soon as you're finished, can I see you here?
Yeah, okay.
Chief, if I were surrounded by 6 or 8 of these things, would I stand a chance with them?
Well, there's no problem. If you had a gun, shoot them in the head. That's a sure way to kill them. If you don't, get yourself a club or a torch. Beat them or burn them. They go up pretty easy.
Well, Chief McClellan, how long do you think it will take you until you get the situation under control?
Well, that's pretty hard to say. We don't know how many of them there are. We know when we find them, we can kill them.
Are they slow-moving, Chief?
Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
Well, in time, would you say you ought to be able to wrap this up in 24 hours?
Well, we don't really know. We know we'll be into it most of the night, probably into the early morning. We're working our way toward Willard, and we'll team up with the National Guard over there, and then we'll be able to give a more definite view.
Thank you very much, Chief McClellan. This is Bill Cardill, WIC TV 11 News.
Thank you, Bill, for that report. Official spokesman declined to speculate just how long it may take to kill off all the flesh eaters, so long as the heavy rain...
Is the fuse box in the cellar?
I don't know. It isn't the fuse. The power lines are down. Helen, I have to get that gun.
Haven't you had enough?
But 2 people are dead already on account of that guy. Take a look out that window.
Vince, Al. You want to get about 4 or 5 men and a couple dogs? There's a house over here behind those trees. We want to go check it out. Right, you stay here, Bill.
Yeah, Chief, we're going to stay with it till we meet up with the National Guard.
Where'd you get the coffee?
One of the volunteers. You're doing all the work. You take it.
Thank you. We should be wrapped up here about 3 or 4 more hours. We'll probably get into Willard then. I guess you can go over there and meet the National Guard. Nick, you and the rest of these men want to come with me?
Tell Bill to check in the office, see what's happening. All right, Steve. Tell him we're going to stay with it, and everything appears to be under control.
We go on the other side. They need you down there by the barn. Okay. Some of these guys can follow the wagon down. I only need a few men to check out the house. Somebody had a cookout here, Vince.
Yeah, sure looks like it, Cal.
He's the dead one. Get up here. Nick, Tony, Steve, you want to get out in that field and build me a bonfire? You, drag that out of here and throw it on the fire.
Nothing down here.
All right, go ahead down and give him a hand. Let's go check out the house, man.
There's something there. I heard a noise.
All right, Vince, hit him in the head, right between the eyes. Good shot. Okay, he's dead. Let's go get him. That's another one for the fire.
Send the wagon through, come directly on over.
Well, that ramped up quickly.
It did, didn't it? Yeah. Things escalated.
And just like how you should never mess around on a roundabout, never mess around in a zombie movie.
Yeah, right.
Judy messed around.
She hesitated.
And things didn't end well. See, Tom covering the truck in gas didn't help.
No, I don't think it
Which
did.
obviously leading to Ben and accidentally setting it on fire. Him and Judy, I could see the logic of them driving it away from the pump.
Yeah.
But they just ended up barbecuing themselves for the ghouls.
For the ghouls, yeah.
For the ghouls. And I love that whole sequence. Like, shit has just hit the fan at that point. I love Ben's kind of standoff. This is when Harry messes up, yeah.
Harry.
In his fear, he locks Ben out. But, you know, Ben's a man with a mission. He said he is going to use everything he can to survive.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to live. Bursts through there, obviously starts barricade again. And Harry obviously does. There's the look, that art. It's great framing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Harry does then try to help.
He does, but he's a character that is just completely and utterly driven by fear.
Yeah.
Just unadulterated fear. And yes, it makes you do very stupid things. I think the big question is, though, is Ben justified in killing him?
Well, obviously everyone saw what leads to it. When obviously shit hits the fan. Even more shit hits the fan, so to say. When the zombies, that house is almost coming down. Like
Oh, yeah.
Barbara has jumped back into action.
We get it. Yeah, I know. Yeah, the moment she finally does something useful, she still gets murked. But it's nice to see Babs come back and, get a little...
It's sort of poetic
moment.
that, our zombie from the very beginning is in the house, and her brother, Johnny, is the one to... Thing is, I feel like she had a chance to survive. It's seeing her brother threw her off.
Well, I'll tell you what, they did come and get her.
I'm coming to get you, Barbara.
They did.
I've come to get you, Barbara.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, as soon as Harry sees a chance, while Ben is desperately trying to hold back the horde, taking the gun and aiming at him. I think in Ben's mind there, he knows this man is a liability.
Yeah.
In a situation like this. I think even Harry's wife knows in that moment
Yeah.
that he is a liability. And I think, obviously, Ben charges at him. He does shoot the gun off.
Yeah.
Obviously, misses because it's knocked out of the way. Was he justified in killing him? In the moment, I can see why he did. Because that's twice in a very short amount of time that Harry has jeopardized Ben's safety. And it feels like he is on purposely trying to get Ben out of the picture.
Yeah,
He's threatened by him.
I do see. Oh yeah, like I see the context and like what's led to it. I think it's just is when Ben inevitably does pull the trigger, is it led by anger or desperation at that point? And I think ultimately it's a little bit of both. Harry is absolutely a hindrance, and he shoots him in the gut. I think, isn't it? It's like not exactly a quick death for the guy, but I don't know, rightly or wrongly, I can't help but feel bad for Harry in a way, because like ultimately his final moment is to be reunited with his daughter.
He wants to check on his daughter.
He goes down to the basement to see his little girl. It's like, I think he knows he's a goner, he knows he's dying, but it's in that one moment, it's like, and every kind of reaction he's had, annoying and frustrating, and yes, he is a liability. Annoying as it is, it's all been driven by this desperate need to save his little girl. So yes, he is an annoying character. Maybe Ben was right to kill him in the end, but it's tough.
It's a good performance though.
It is a good performance, yeah. Considering the guy was a producer,
Yeah.
I don't know if he had an acting background, but it is good.
Obviously, that scene with his daughter.
Oh, Karen.
I think the scene was initially written that way, and then they changed it so that Helen was going to go downstairs and see Harry eating their daughter as a ghoul. I think they decided that would be too much, absolutely too much for people, so they reverted back and filmed it as it was originally written.
It's too much for the dad to eat the daughter. We'll do it the other way around. That's fine.
Yeah, I totally get it. And when she goes for her mother with the trowel.
What? Okay, so here's the thing. I find that scene really interesting for a lot of reasons. It's shot brilliantly. The reaction of Marilyn Eastman, is that her name?
Yeah.
Like the scream and everything, and it's shot really well. But what I find really interesting is the fact that in that moment, Karen doesn't murder her mum by eating her. She kills her by stabbing her.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But that also mirrors what happens at the beginning. The initial zombie kills Johnny, then doesn't eat him, runs after Barb.
Yeah, they're not necessarily driven by hunger.
Yeah, which is differs from later zombie movies.
Because also when I'm assuming she must have bit her mum in some way, because ultimately Helen does start to turn. But I don't see a bite mark on her.
This is interesting. Obviously, like I said, the rules of the zombie movie are not written yet, and we know you get bitten. What I gather from the radiation side of it is anyone recently deceased will come back, and I think that's whether you're bitten or not. Kind of like Walking Dead. That's how the rules work.
Yeah.
In that world, that's how I see those rules, and I think in later films they just kind of work towards being bitten.
Yeah, it's interesting. She doesn't kill by eating; she kills by stabbing. So it's ultimately just left me thinking for a moment, like, well, what's the purpose of killing her that way? But yeah.
Ghouls being ghouls.
Bleak as hell.
I know that trowel. I can't think of Cabin in the Woods. I had to dismember that one with a trowel. That I think was sold at an auction and is in like a private collection.
Yeah, that's great.
Which was probably either something that was already there, or just someone's trowel.
Cost someone like $2. maybe at the time, and now it's like preserved forever in a glass.
There's a bit of
glass
film
case.
memorabilia.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is ironic that Ben obviously ends up in the basement.
We got to talk about that.
Yeah. Also, I'm just going to quickly jump in. The music through this is really good, considering there was no composer for this. They literally just took music from anywhere they could, like TV dramas, adverts, westerns, and just spliced it together. So the fact that it's a coherent score at all is incredible.
Yeah, it's very well done.
I also find it funny that Harry, for the most part, spends most of his time upstairs. Literally, he's the one, he goes to the top floor for the Molotovs and is obviously in the living room for the majority of it, and Ben is the one that ends up downstairs.
Yeah, totally.
So it's kind of, both men did have a point. The problem is that they couldn't work together.
No.
And Ben does say at the beginning, like, between all of us, we could secure this.
Yeah.
You know, this house, and maybe they could have.
Yeah, they just, right from the get-go, they just didn't, there was just too much of a clash. But I mean, it has, also has to be said, yes, Ben does end up in the basement, but he does it purely out of desperation. It's literally the last place he can go for, for refuge. But yeah, I did like that irony. Sometimes you just gotta block yourself in the basement.
The ending.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most obviously the scene with the daughter is extremely famous, but the ending of this, it's so bleak, but it is also just, it's iconic. And this in particular was a scene that led them struggling to get a distributor. A lot of them wanted them to film additional scenes to have a more happy, a more Hollywood ending.
Yeah.
It was just too bleak for people.
Yeah.
And whether or not Romero wanted some sort of like commentary on a big group of white men killing a black man, that is how it has come across, and it must have seeped into some of the decision making, because it is framed with the dogs. It is framed like a lynch mob.
Oh, absolutely! Of course it is. Like I mean, we know that Romero was not particularly precious about his script, because we know when he cast Judith O'Dea, when he cast Dwayne, that he changed the characters, he moulded the characters to match what his actors were bringing to the performance.
Was initially supposed to be the survivor.
Exactly.
And it's something they revisit in the remake.
So he wasn't, the script was not necessarily his Bible, he was willing to change and he was willing to adapt. So I think when it comes to the ending, without having to necessarily, spell it out loud for people, I think Romero was absolutely aware of what he was doing with that final scene and the effect that it would have on audiences. It's not something, again, that you need to specify in the years that have passed since then, but it's there. It's loud and clear, unspoken, but it's there.
We were saying this as we were watching this. I don't know how audiences back then felt, but you could feel that something was going to happen. You could tell this is not going to be a happy. This isn't a rescue team. The way that they're framed and the way they're talking about like dispatching the ghouls and everything that we see does not add up to Ben is going to get out of this alive.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. As shocking as the ending is, I do wonder if audiences, some audiences at the time were like, this is not going to end well, is it?
No. I
wonder if a few did cotton on, maybe. It's a very, very nicely paced and nicely filmed, the finale.
Yeah. It's been a very long time since I've watched it 3 times now in total. Once many, many, many years ago. I was very young when I first watched this. A few days ago when I watched it researching the video, and today.
Yeah.
So not watched this film a ton. It's not one I revisit obviously a lot, because even though it is a good film, I often go to watching something like Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, I think I've said a couple of times that zombie movies generally are not my go-to. I've seen this film once or twice before, but it just tends to happen that several years pass in between viewings. The last time I saw this was probably pre-pandemic. And I've always respected this movie for what it was, but it's, for some reason, it's a movie I can never remember. I remember the graveyard scene at the beginning, and I remember the ending, and then the middle is always a bit of a blur. And I honestly think watching it now has been genuinely my favourite screening of it. It held my attention constantly all the way through. But yeah, the reason I don't particularly like zombie films is because they are just inherently very, very bleak. I need my zombie movies to have a little bit of levity, to them. I need a little bit of sarcasm thrown in there. But absolutely, it is a masterful film, and there is just something innately terrifying about being in a situation where shit just happens to you, where you have no other option, literally no other choice but to react to it, which isn't, I guess, like what all zombie movies are at the end of the day. You're just going about your normal business, and then just boom, a plague descends on you, and you've just got to sink or swim. That is probably one of the most like terrifying concepts in all of horror. But it's like this film, I think, more than any of them, it is just like such an exercise in futility in a way. It's like, what the fuck is the point in even trying? You go through all of that, you barricade your doors,
you kill your fellow man,
you get your Molotov cocktails, and what the fuck is the point? Because you end up with a bullet in the head. It's there's always a bleakness to these films, but I think they're needed.
Yeah, they always have a message.
Yeah.
And one thing I really like when obviously Romero did Dawn of the Dead, to take that idea, right, we've seen how people react in a single evening. How would they react over a longer period of time? Because I was there in the mall for a while. And I really like it helps contrast the two films, separate them. It makes them very, very different movies. Then going into the Day of the Dead, obviously we see what was the military's point of view on this? So that whole trilogy is completely different.
Yeah.
And I really, really like how he approached
definitely
all the films that he's done.
Yeah.
Even likes of Land of the Dead, I really like.
Yeah.
For what he does, each feels different from the other.
Yeah, yeah.
Weirdly, just going back to something you mentioned about the pandemic, and with the copyright and people can basically do what they want with this movie. There was a play.
There was a play, yeah.
Me and a friend had tickets to go see the play, and I think the play was, I can't remember what they called it. Obviously, it had Night of the Living Dead in the title, but they acted it out with a camera, and what they were filming was up on the screen. So it was like a live recording of the play. It was weird. Pandemic hit. Yes. Everything got shut down. So I remember they gave us a link to watch it online. And I shared the link with you because we weren't living together with it at the time. Me and my mate completely forgot to watch it, but you did.
I did watch it, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very inventive, and it struck me again as I was watching it this tonight that this would make a very good play. Like, this basically just one location. You've got a handful of characters. Like, it's very psychological. And then it dawned on me again that there was a play. Again, I keep forgetting this film. I keep forgetting my relationship with it. But no, I would be up for seeing this as a play again.
John Russo filmed additional scenes for this many years later, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Again, it's been various different cuts, dubs, and some of the choices he made were quite weird. Added a religious element to it, additional scenes, brought back I can't remember the name of the guy who plays the very first zombie. He's back in it even though he's much older.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
No.
From what I've seen of it, it doesn't add anything to the story. It changes the score. And it's like, you came up with a story for this. It's maybe, again, it was a way to be able to put out a version that could be copyrighted and benefit off it in some way.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That is a bit odd.
It's a bit odd. I like Russo, however you pronounce it, because of Return of the Living Dead. But even then, I think he's credited with coming up with a story. He didn't write the screenplay, so you gotta stick to your strengths.
Yeah.
Stick to your strengths in this game.
Thanks for spending this evening, morning, lunchtime, whenever you're watching this. Thanks for spending the time with us while we watched Night of the Living Dead.
Yes.
So, our second one we've done in this host format.
Yes, and thank you to the distribution company for royally fucking up so we were able to watch it.
Doing one of the biggest fuck ups in copyright history.
Yes, but it led to this moment.
It did. It leads to us all being able to watch this online. We don't know what the next one of these is going to be, or even when it is. We wanted to get one of these out in October. Doubtful we'll have another one this year, maybe early next year. We're thinking for the next one. Well, let us know what you think of this movie if you've watched it, if this was your first time. But we want your opinion on what the next one should be. Most likely won't be this year. We've not got any plans to do another one of these this year, so maybe early next year. We're thinking Last Man on Earth, Vincent Price, which was the first film adaptation of I Am Legend.
Mm-hmm.
Carnival of Souls, which would have came out not long before Night of the Living Dead, and Plan 9 from Outer Space. So
take your pick.
Take your pick. We're going to watch all of them at some point anyway.
We will. Just which one first?
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, guys, and we will see you later in the week for our regularly scheduled programming.
Bye.